lot of people that are like, no matter what side of politics you're on, you should never celebrate something bad happening to someone. I, on the other hand, do cheer when bad things happen to bad people.
Charlie Kirk just got shot. Somebody just took a shot at one of the fans' fastest favorite 5-mile-wide mouthpieces, Charles Chuckle Kirk.
Today, we're just getting people's opinions. How do you feel about that?
Girl, someone had to do it. That's how I feel at this point in time. But
Yeah, I appreciate your honesty. I truly do. So you said someone had to do it.
yes. Try not to get all pulled up into that, but he was a misogynist. He was a disgusting person with disgusting beliefs.
It's bad enough, Joe Rossinello. It's bad enough what happened. Okay. That and the video, when I saw it yesterday, I didn't even know what I was watching when I first saw it. In fact, when I saw what was going on in one video, you had sent me a message on Facebook that Charlie Kirk just got shot. That's when I went back on and I actually watched the video. And I'm like, what kind of freaking bizarro world do we live in? That was number one. You look at that video, and I'm sorry, I never believed for a second. I prayed for it, but I never believed for a second that he was stabilized. I said to myself, a human being can't survive that. Okay? When you watch it, the blood and everything, it can't survive. So it's bad enough that you got to go through that. You got to see that. Okay? But then that introduction is just a tip of the iceberg of what we've been hearing, and we're going to go over it tonight about who's responsible for Charlie Kirk's death. Everybody, we're going to show a video of who's responsible for Charlie Kirk's death. Everybody. Van Jones is responsible for Charlie Kirk's death. All those kids who say, somebody had to do it. He's a misogynist because he speaks out against women murdering their children in the womb. That's why he's a misogynist? That makes him a hateful person? Matthew Dowd basically blamed Charlie Kirk for his own death. And that's what's making me sick to my stomach. That's what's making me yell like I haven't yelled in so long, Joe Rossinello. Joe, I need your help tonight because I'm not going to lie to you or the audience. I'm not feeling altogether Catholic tonight. I'm not.
Well, I'll tell you what. I think the clips that we just played, and then we're going to go into other clips, I think it ranges, if you're looking at root causes. And we're going to talk about the dude from MSNBC, Dowd, who came from ABC. See, he is a true believer. He's an intelligent man. He's a true believer. This is his religion. Like, these ideas are his religion. He's a stable, functioning person, but this is his religion. Then we look to some of the people we had in the intro. They're not stable. You see, and this is the danger when unstable people hear messages like Donald Trump's Hitler, Charlie Kirk is Hitler. There are plenty of things that a stable person would hear, and then you just say, well, I disagree with that, or I'm not going to listen to that person. That's how a stable person reacts. Those people are not stable. And there's a lot of that in America. You see, the problem is this is not going away. No election can fix that individual. No election.
Right.
And the belief systems are so against one another. They simply are. Like, it's no longer about, like, we're going to debate about corporate tax. You want to have 30%. I want to have 23%. See, that's a healthy debate. This is not going away because ultimately, and I'll be honest with you, and we could talk about this in different ways, but you see, it comes down to God. These people don't believe in God. You cannot believe in God and be happy that someone is dead. You can't.
Okay, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Do you honestly think that they don't believe in God, or do you believe that they hate God? Because I believe that they believe in God, and I think they hate God.
I can't say. All I could say is I could look at the outcome of that statement. You can't have a belief in a loving God and make that statement. You can't.
Well, let
And
me
I
ask you. You believe in a loving God. Let me ask you a question. Okay, pick a pundit. Let's take Van Jones. We're going to play him in a little while. If that happened to him, I'd be sick. If that happened to Van Jones, I'd be sick. I'd be the first one to condemn those people. Say you can't do that. I don't care what the guy said. You can't. He's a reporter, a journalist, whatever you want to call Van Jones, a commentator. I'd say I'd be sick if he got shot like that on a college campus by some whoever, right winger. If you want to say right winger, okay, I'd be sick to my stomach. To your point, because I do believe in a loving God. And I believe that loving God doesn't want us to do that to other people. God wants us to argue with other people. God wants us to stand up for the truth. Okay? As Charlie Kirk was always saying, I stand up for the truth because I believe in Jesus Christ, who is the way, the truth, and the life. That's divisive to some people. But I would be sick to my stomach. That's my larger point, Joe. If it happened to Joy Reid, I detest Joy Reid. I really have to go to confession because I have no love in my heart for her. Okay? I don't want her to die. I'm not going to applaud if she got killed. And if I was there, I'd try to prevent something bad from happening to her or any of these people. Whoopi Goldberg, you could throw them all in the mix. Nothing, because we do believe in a loving God. But you said it right. These people, they either don't or they hate God. One of the two.
Well,
They're celebrating this, Joe.
I mean, to celebrate that, Van Jones is a different animal. Van Jones clearly has a different worldview, but also keep this in mind. And that other woman on CNN, in many respects, I think that's about power. You see, there's another person here, and you've seen this. I saw a clip from the governor of Illinois. He's blaming Donald Trump. You see, but that's about power. That is another element that's also very twisted. Our country, I'll be truthful with you, it saddens me. Today is 9/11. 24 years ago, the country changed in many respects. It's never been the same since 9/11, the way people view things. Before, America was like a fortress, nothing like that ever. I mean, it happened, Pearl Harbor happened, but that was that was horrible. But at the same time, no one thought of that ever being possible in America. And it did. It changed America. I think this is also one of these benchmarks. It's going to change the way people view politics. Here's a man, and this is, I don't want to speculate on how he was killed and who and what, because that's going to come out. But here's what there is no speculation about. Charlie Kirk was an effective communicator. He basically beat the Democrats and the left at its own game. What do I mean by that? He went to college campuses. He presented an engaging argument. He won the battle of ideas on the ground, and as a result, he registered people to be Republicans who voted for Donald Trump. One could say without Charlie Kirk, Donald Trump may not have won.
Right.
That is a fact. And thinking people know that.
Right.
That is, if you ask me, again, if I was investigating that, that's the motive. Then again, it could be a random nut. I don't know. I don't want to say, but if it was me, if I was the investigator and I was being objective and I had there's nobody pulling me any which way. This is an effective communicator who potentially, and I've heard this said, down the road, keep in mind, Joe, he's 31 years old. He could have become the president of the United States. That's a possibility. He was highly effective at what he did, and they weren't going to have that.
Right.
That says a lot and should say a lot to a lot of people. And the people who are cheering for this, the people who are all about power and knew that he was effective, to be honest with you, that is a sweeping population in America. And it's reconcilable. You see, this is where you see some people we have to talk. Listen, you can talk to a rational person. You could have a healthy conversation. We're not dealing with rational.
Right.
We're not. That time is gone. Now, I'm not calling for open war. And Joe, I'll be truthful with you. I don't know what the answer is going to be. But one thing I do know, that is not going to happen.
Well,
They
here's the
will
thing.
never. Okay, go, please.
No, I'm saying, but here's the danger. I hear people saying, conservatives saying that, well, we have to prevent these people from being able to spew a lot of these ideas online. I don't know if I'm in favor of that either, for the simple reason that, well, if the government starts getting involved in what's going to be, again, we've spoken about this when it comes to the right. If the government's going to start determining what's hate speech, okay, I don't want conservatives determining what's hate speech either.
Well, Joe,
Because then they're going to, what's that, Joe?
That's a tactic.
Well, they're going to come after us because, listen, they already go after conservatives. They say, like, well, here, let's put it like this. Let's play Matthew Dowd, and then we'll come back.
Yeah, and again, I emphasize what you just emphasized. We don't know any of the full details of this. That we don't know if this was a supporter shooting their gun off in celebration, or so we have no idea about this. But following up with what was just said, he's been one of the most divisive, especially divisive younger figures in this, who is constantly sort of pushing this sort of hate speech or sort of aimed at certain groups. And I always go back to hateful thoughts lead to hateful words, which then lead to hateful actions. And I think that's the environment we're in, that people just, you can't stop with these sort of awful thoughts you have and then saying these awful words and not expect awful actions to take place.
Matt.
And that's the unfortunate environment we're in.
You catch that quickly at the end. I think she was trying to stop him. Okay. And I'm glad. Joe, correct me if I'm wrong. He's fired, right?
Yeah, he got let go.
Now, see, that's a legitimate cancellation. Sorry, that's legit. He basically said Charlie Kirk brought it on himself. I was having this conversation at work today. If you're just joining us here at the front line with Joe and Joe Pasillo, Joe Rossinello, the title of this video, Charlie Kirk's death, who's responsible? I am not going to speak for Joe Rossinello. I'm blaming the collective left. I'm blaming all the members of the House that didn't even want to say a prayer for the guy.
No, I
didn't even want to say the
prayer.
prayer.
It's disappointing, Joe.
But real
it's
quick
so
about
sad.
real quick. I had this conversation with a buddy of mine at work today. He said, and this is what you said, Joe, what are we supposed to do about this? We have to take guys like Matthew Dowd and we have to force him in front of a camera. I want you to say how Charlie Kirk was divisive, because I'm going to give you what's divisive in the left's mind, as far as I see. You're not in favor of slaughtering children in the womb.
Oh, exactly. It's
that
religion.
makes you divisive.
Joe,
marriage is between one man and one woman. That makes you divisive.
Joe, that's why it's unreconcilable.
Well, that's what I'm saying to you. And let's go real quick, and I'm going to throw it over to you. You can't mutilate kids. You can't mutilate kids. 2-year-olds don't have the right to determine their gender. And parents who allow them to do so should have those children taken away from them. That's a sensible, rational argument. Now, I'm not being rational tonight as far as my decibel level, okay? But these are the things that they say made Charlie Kirk divisive. But that's half the country, or more than half the country.
This is why.
Said.
This is why I'll flip the coin. Say AOC became the president, and all of like the craziness, just full on. Are you going to be happy with that? Of course not. It's the same thing. I tried to put myself in his mind today because I heard that clip on Michael Knowles was talking about it. He's a true believer. This is what happens when you remove God from a person. It has to be filled. This is his religion, Joe. Those people have a religion. It's secular humanism. It's cultural communism. That's their religion. And unless they have this epiphany or like lightning strikes them, and that happens periodically, but it's not going to happen to the collective. And this has gone on for so long in America, and we've gotten to a point, there are millions upon millions of people in America like this. They're never going to stand for Donald Trump. Do you actually think that this is going to stop? It's not going to stop. They've shot Steve Scalise. They tried to kill Donald Trump twice. This is not going to stop, especially with effective communicators like a Charlie Kirk. It's not going to stop.
I'm glad you mentioned that. I'm glad you mentioned that because we've said on this show at the Frontline with Joe and Joe a million times, We're not going to accept the argument that both sides do it. I don't see guys like us, Joe, going and punching Joy Reid in the face, okay, or Van Jones, or threatening people in any way. We fight in the battleground of ideas, which is where we're supposed to be doing our fighting. Last time I checked, that's what they were supposed to do. I said this to a buddy of mine. They started this. And I'm going to tell you something. I don't care who tells me I'm crazy. I will argue and debate this point to the day I die. This all started over abortion. This whole thing started back with Robert Bork, where the left started to go unhinged and could not understand and would not accept that half the country doesn't agree with them. They viciously attacked Robert Bork, and then his nomination was withdrawn. They did the same thing to Clarence Thomas, but the Republicans and a lot of cultural warriors like Brent Bozell stood up and said, you're not going to do to Clarence Thomas what you did to Robert Bork. Okay? They did the same thing to Sam Alito. Look what they recently did to Kavanaugh, Gorsuch, and Amy Coney Barrett. Okay? This is all central, maybe not the whole thing, central to everything in this culture war that we're in with these evil, disgusting people is abortion, because that's where it started. Before then, it was like you said, Joe. Well, you're arguing over whether taxes should be 35% or 32%, or you're arguing over what tariffs should be, or what should our foreign policy be, where you had political debate amongst people who really did not like each other. Tip O'Neill and Ronald Reagan did not like each other, no matter how much people try to say that they did. But what they they both understood was politics. Okay, we're gonna have to fight this out. Okay, that's politics. This is beyond that. And it started with what? They want to be able to kill babies. That's why they destroyed Robert Bork. They tried to destroy every Republican nominee, going back to Clarence Thomas. They tried to do to Brett Kavanaugh what they did to Clarence Thomas. And it's all escalating from that central thing. That's why that girl in that video said Charlie Kirk was a misogynist, because Charlie Kirk was pro-life. Charlie Kirk did not believe in abortion, period. Exclamation point. That's it. Okay? And I don't care who tells me I'm wrong about this, but my larger point is, Joe, both sides don't do it. They do it. They escalate it. And like you said, this is only the beginning.
No,
I agree.
it's not gonna end. It's sad. It's very sad. But again, to your point, if two people, God is the unifying factor in everything. Like if two people believe in God and have a disagreement, there's an umbrella under the two people. You see, once that's removed, a void has to be filled. You could disagree with someone politically, but when you remove the God factor, and in a lot of these, like I said, there's secular humanism. It's secular humanism, Joe. Cultural communists don't have like a foundation in theology. They have their own theology, abortion, same-sex marriage. And in their mind, you are a monster if you believe in something other than that.
Right.
Many of these people are sincere. That's unreconcilable. No politician, you see, the answer, to be honest with you, is a religious revival in America. Now, it is, because no politician can bridge that gap. They can't. And to kill, listen, I was not happy with the Biden administration. My response, I organized a rosary rally, which I still do to this day on the first Saturday. That was my response. I channeled my frustration at what I was seeing, and I organized a group of men and we prayed the rosary. I didn't riot. I didn't break things. I didn't hurt people.
Right.
This is the difference. And here's the thing, to your point, January 6th, granted, it got out of hand. That's a fraternity stunt next to what we've seen in the last few. It really is.
That's a great way to put it. That's a great way to put it.
Next to what we have seen, trying to kill the president, like the burning of cities, the looting. That's a fraternity stunt. It's not even comparable. And anyone who tries to compare it, frankly, is not being objective. So ultimately, people have to view this, and frankly, it has to be repudiated by the Democrats, and they're not going to do that.
They'll never do, Joe.
I know that. I
know
know
the
that. We
difference
saw that
between
at the house. They wouldn't pray for the man.
they wouldn't pray
Joe,
for the guy. And the difference between here's a distinction I think needs to be made, Joe, because in that first clip we showed all those little idiots with all the crap in their nose and
well,
all
they're
that.
sick. They're
All right.
sick kids.
No, you're making my point. I'm glad you said that. They're sick or evil or both. Okay. But all the smart people, like Joy Reid's, I'm not going to call her a
She's
dummy.
a Harvard educated woman.
Right. She's not stupid.
No.
She blames Steve Scalise for Steve
Joy
Scalise
Reid
getting
is
shot.
after power, Joe. You see, Joy Reid is another category. Joy Reid, you see, that justice that she's looking for has nothing to do with justice. It has everything to do with power. You see, Martin Luther King and Joy Reid would not be able to agree at the same table. That's about power at any cost. And some of the other pundits on CNN, it's about power. It has nothing to do with equity, justice. That's just the cover and the mask on those arguments.
But why then? Why do I have to listen to Scott Jennings, who I greatly respect? Okay. I admire him for going into the belly of the beast there. All right. Why is it that they're nice to these people? When you're in the House of Representatives or you're in the Senate, don't call them my friend from Illinois when they're talking about Dick Durbin.
Well, they don't.
Why are you being nice? There's no reason right now, as long as you're like, as far as I'm not advocating they do anything aside from, but don't be nice to these people. Don't even respect what's about to come out of their mouth. You have to find out. Well, you talked about Charlie Kirk being an effective communicator. He knew that. That's why people didn't like to go toe to toe with him. Some people who did, I respect that they did because he was a pretty sharp guy, very sharp guy, and he was able to answer your arguments.
Well, that's why he's dead. That's
why he's dead too.
That's why, because
Don't-
he was
don't
very
try to
good
be-
at what he did.
Don't try to be nice to these people is my point. So when you go on the media, see, Joy Reid should have been called a racist to her face by a conservative on that show. I'll give you an example. You want an example? They'll never invite us back again, but I don't really care. If we ever got big and had that kind of platform and we were on one of those shows and it's Van Jones or Joy Reid or anyone, I'll look at them right in the face and say, you know what? You're the racist because you're a projector. You project on other people what's going on in your own heart. That's why you were happy that Steve Scalise got shot. That's why you never denounced Bernie Sanders and it was a Bernie Sanders supporter that shot him. That's why people were like Whoopi Goldberg. Whoopi Goldberg had the balls to say that she was upset that Donald Trump's granddaughter went up on stage at the RNC because it humanized Donald Trump. Do you see the sickness of these people, Joe? That she's upset because the guy's a grandfather and he's actually a human being who bleeds red. Okay, if you hurt him, if you shoot him, he's going to die, and they justify it. Here's my point. I'm going to throw it over to you because I'm getting myself angry again. Well, not again. I've been angry the whole time. The nutbags almost have an excuse. Why are we treating others in the media like they even have a leg to stand on or any sort of rational argument? That's one of the reasons why I'm happy. I'm happy, Joe. In my heart, I know I got to go to confession. I'm happy Matthew Dowd got fired. That's okay. He's probably worth millions. He'll be okay. I'm glad he got fired. But when are people going to look at these people right in the face and say, you are an irrational person and you are the hater, you're the divider? Because everybody who says anything that you don't like, and you Joe mentioned it earlier, anybody who says anything you don't like, they're a fascist, they're a Nazi, they're a racist. There's only so much you could do, Joe. There's only so many times you can say
the
that
arguments, to be honest with you, I mean, I don't take them very seriously because they're not great. They lost the argument, Joe. That's why Charlie Kirk is dead. That's the action of someone who you have nothing else to say but to lash out. That's why he's dead, because they lost the argument. But ultimately, there is no reconciling these two positions. I don't know where our country is going to go, to be honest. I think it's going to continue to spin out of control. I don't see this. I don't know where it's going to go, but I don't think it'll ever be the same. I think they want to send a message basically with don't open your mouth, like the vitriol has to end, because to be honest with you, they have been outed. Platforms like X and people like Charlie Kirk, the arguments don't stand up. They don't stand up, and they've been outed. The government has been outed in many respects. So Where this goes, I don't know. I will say this. I don't think our country will ever be the same. Like, we are now a banana republic. What has gone on in the last 10 years by the United States government, this is not the country that I grew up in. It simply isn't. It's like, it's a banana republic. And banana republics usually it's going to end up one of two ways in the hand of a strongman to basically control the country. That's what Putin is. That's what Saddam Hussein did in Iraq. And eventually, things are going to get so out of control. There is going to be a declared winner in this. It's going to either be a far left or a far right person, and they will control things through absolute brutality.
I think,
and that is the end result of this. That's
Joe,
where we're headed.
it's a pipe dream that I have. E. Michael Jones says all the time, we're at the end of the American Empire.
Oh, there's no question. I'm not saying that's going to be tomorrow. It could be a 50-year process, but it's going to flip from right to left, from right to left to right to left, and eventually it's going to be so out of control that there will be somebody who wins this.
Or can I throw a different thing real quick? We have some, thank God, we have some new people. Ann's with us tonight. Hi, Ann. She says in the chat room, how can we ask for God's blessings on this country when the blood of his youngest, most vulnerable children continues to soak our land? And you must have been secretly watching the Frontline with Joe and Joe for the last several years, because we've said that. I will say this, Joe, just as full disclosure. I got an email, a general email, not to me specifically. John Yep from Catholics for Catholics. We're going to be talking to him in a couple of weeks with Taylor Marshall. Okay, on our radio show. So Catholics for Catholics sent out an email last night, and basically down here there was a rosary rally. It was very sad, but was actually very beautiful, because there had to be 500-600 people that on very short notice showed up and prayed, and we sang "God Bless America." So, Ann, I'm with you on that. But in my heart, I'm also with your comment, is that if we don't stop, it's a fundamental thing. It's a fundamental thing. You can take all the politics, foreign policy, take all that and throw it out the window. Mother Teresa said, no nation could be at peace, and I'm paraphrasing, while it allows for the murder of the unborn. You cannot be at peace. Now, back to Joe's point. Joe, I want the country to split. I'm not going to lie. I know you're about to shake your head and say to me, Joe, it's never going to happen. But I want East America and West America. All right? That's what I want, or some version thereof. And then I'm going to throw it over to you. But here's the reason. I don't think they want that. You want to know why? When they say they just want to be left alone by us evil conservatives, they don't want to be left alone. They want to control us. They would never go for this country being so. Say, listen, you take everything east of the Mississippi, we'll take everything west of the Mississippi, and in about a generation, you won't have a country. Okay? You won't have any kids, because you'll kill them all. All right? And any kids you do have are going to transition to supposedly another gender. They're not going to have any kids. In the meantime, we'll be thriving economically and culturally, and we'll have God. All right? And then we'll get back to America, because you'll all fall apart. I want the country to split. I don't want to be. You know what, Joe? Here's this for me. I don't want to unify with these people. You take half the country, we'll take the other half. I don't want anything to do with you. That's the truth. That's the way I feel.
Well, I don't think there can be a reconciliation by man. It's going to take something outside of like an event, something. Man can't fix this. Ultimately, people have to come to their senses. Listen, marriage is between one man and one woman. You can't kill your kids. You can't transition your gender. This is not my opinion. Some of this stuff is actually demonic, Joe. Some of this stuff is demonic. So here's the deal. I'm not looking for a theocracy. I'm looking for sanity. And we don't have it. And no man or woman can bring it. No one is going to press the lever in an election booth and bring it. I personally think the country is going to get into a hard time. You've seen France, for instance, a lot of baptisms in France this past year. My personal view, I think economically speaking, could be 100-year period. I think America, God is going to basically make us pay the price. We're going to pay a hefty price. And through hardship, people will start to come around. That might take 3 generations. Remember, God has a lot of time. A minute, like 100 years is like a second. That's the type of thing that could change people. Pain, suffering.
Right.
And and like, because of, you can't buy a house, you have to eat meager food. Only the rich go get a good education. Your teeth fall out by the time you're 50. I'm talking
Right.
about what most of the world deals with. That's the
And
type,
and most of the world dealt with it up to about 5 minutes ago in
but
human
this,
history.
and this is what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah,
and
you're right.
and that will bring us back to our senses. Because
Well, Joe,
God,
think about it. Go ahead.
no, but
Well,
ultimately,
here's my
God
question.
sees everything we see. And to that viewer's point, how can God bless a country that allows us to kill children? Tens of millions. How can we bless a country that there are states that allow minors to mutilate their body without their parents' consent? Joe, this is crazy stuff. So this is my point. God will fix it. And God is going to fix it. It's not going to be pretty. We're all going to suffer.
Well, here's the thing. All right. There are, well, I'll tell you what. We have a clip where it's a bit of a hopeful sign from something that happened with the Carolina Panthers. Let's play the clip.
Kirk was shot. Some people now facing professional consequences, losing their jobs for insensitive posts about that on social media. The Carolina Panthers fired one of their communications team members. The Panthers posting on X, "The views expressed by our employees are their own and do not represent those of the Panthers. We do not condone violence of any kind. We're taking this matter seriously and have addressed it with the individual." A Lake Norman charter teacher is on administrative leave tonight for their comments. The school in Huntersville sent a message to families condemning what they posted, saying it does not reflect the school. And Gaston County schools tonight say they're investigating comments by one of their teachers. They tell Channel 9 their Human Resources Department is looking into it.
Why do I say that that's hopeful? I say that that's hopeful. You brought up God's intervention. Now, we know from the Bible and from history, okay, because the archaeology proves that there was a Sodom and Gomorrah and it was basically burnt to the ground. All right. And yes, God did that. But remember, and this is where I'm going, and I'll throw it over to you, Joe, is that when Abraham asks the Lord, it says, if you go there and you find 50 people, are you going to destroy it if there's 50 good people there? He goes, certainly you wouldn't do that. And the Lord says, no, I won't, Abraham. And we all know the story. It goes all the way down to what, 10 people? He says, Lord, what if you find 10? And God says, Abraham, if I find 10, I won't do it. Obviously, we know Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed, okay? And Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed because God couldn't find 10 good people there, okay? And other than Lot and his family, there probably weren't 10 good people there. So my larger point is this, and that's why I wanted to play that clip, is that, Joe, there are many, many, many good and great people in America who are not going to back down. Now, I'm not going to be one of those people that's going to blow smoke because Charlie Kirk got shot. The fact is, Charlie Kirk was a brave guy. He got out into the breach, all right? And he said, he always said explicitly, he says, I do this, I want to be remembered as somebody who was fighting for the faith, okay? And part of the faith was he was fighting for the truth, which is Christ, okay? By fighting against abortion, which is baby killing, by fighting against transgenderism, which is evil, and gay marriage, and all of it, okay? He was fighting against those things. There are many, many good people in America, and some people, that's why I wanted to play that clip from the Carolina Panthers and other organizations, are saying, you will not do this. You're not going to have it. It's not like you and I going on social media and saying we're against gay marriage and them firing us. These are people that are actually saying, I'm happy that he's dead. I'm glad he's dead. Or maybe we should do it more, or some such thing along those lines. And there's a lot of people that are going to react to that. And hopefully that's going to start to cause a turn in this country where we're not even going to listen to these people. We're going to speak the truth boldly, and then we're going to shout them down every chance we can. Because my larger point, and this is where I was starting, there's a lot of good people in this country. That's why I think I think there's hope. Let's put it like that.
Well, let me put it this way. What has to happen if I was the president, there has to be consequences. You are free to believe anything you want. I'll even take it so far as you could say anything you want. The minute you hurt somebody, you're going to jail. The full force of the government is coming down on you. That goes from robbing a CVS up to $800. In some places, you can get away with it, to the extreme of trying to assassinate the president of the United States. People have to feel both financial and legal consequences. When you break the law, when you hurt someone, there has to be consequences, because that's how people respond who don't believe in God. You see, when you believe in God, those people do bad things too. But you got to stand in front of the man at the end of the day, and there's going to be a judgment. When you don't believe in God, it's Machiavellian. The strong survive and the strong win. So how do you balance that out? You find them and you imprison them. So here's the deal. You want to protest? The protest is you get a permit, you stay between the cones, and it's from 9 to 5, and at 5 o'clock you leave. If you're there at 5:01, you're getting arrested. No questions asked. You break something, you're getting arrested.
Right.
You hurt somebody, you're getting arrested. No questions asked, no arguments. I'm not arguing with you. You're going to jail, and I'm fining you. And I'm fining you heavy. $10,000, $20,000. You don't have the money? Do the time.
Right.
People will get the hint. News outlets that defame people, there's been comments there, and I agree. They have to be fined, sued. You sue them. If you call me something and you can't substantiate that, and it's completely unfounded, I have every right to sue you. And here's the deal. I'm not going to do it for $1,000.
No,
it's going to be a lot of money.
A lot more than that.
And then the companies will crack down on the talking heads. It's money and punishment. And here's the thing. I believe in America. I believe in free speech. You're entitled to believe in anything you want, but you have to defend your beliefs in the arena of ideas. And if you don't win in that arena, well, guess what? You have to sit down and be peaceful. And if you're not, you are going to pay. As in fines. And if you hurt people, you go to jail. Unquestioned. And here's another thing. States that don't do that, I don't even think it's an argument. It's not even an argument. The government is coming in tough. You have abdicated your duty to your own people. You do not get to destroy a state. You don't let a city burn to the ground. Sorry. No arguments, no excuses. I'm not going to apologize for protecting people. And if you get in the way, we're arresting you.
Right.
No conversation, no apologies, no excuses. That's the way it works. That's how you have a society.
Right.
And this is ridiculous nonsense that's going on.
Well, one of the reasons why they hate Donald Trump, and one of the reasons why they hate Charlie Kirk, one of the reasons why they hate the whole movement, okay, if you want to call it like just an umbrella, they'll call it MAGA if you want, but conservative / MAGA, is because they are advocating to strip the news media of the protections that they have, social media of the protections that it has. You can't just say something about somebody. You can't do it. Look at Nick Sandmann, which we've alluded to a million times on this show at the front line with Joe and Joe. Nick Sandmann and his father and his family, they sued, I guess it was CNN and MSNBC, and they ended up settling. And like you said, Joe, I got to believe that they had to pay more than $1,000 because they destroyed that.
It was $250 million, Joe.
The suit.
I'm sure it was millions, tens of millions of dollars. And that's, Joe, that's how it stops.
Right,
telling you.
exactly. Because then their bosses come down and say,
Of
listen,
course.
listen,
And it's the same
guys,
thing with
if
someone
you
who gets
can't prove somebody, go ahead, Joe.
100%. 100%. And that's what we have to do as a nation. I respect your opinion. Say it. Believe whatever you want. You want to worship trees on the weekend? You want to call yourself a giraffe on the weekend? Fine. It's your time. You're free. I'm not going to impose my belief. I want what's best for you. However, if you think you're a rhinoceros and you decide to run into my house and destroy it, I'm having you arrested. Or
simple.
if I have a gun and you try to harm my family, I'm shooting you. And I'm not apologizing.
No.
And I'm not apologizing because you don't have a right to infringe on another. Listen, God does not even do that. God proposes, he does not impose. That's God.
Yeah.
And I am not going to either. I will basically propose a better way to live.
But isn't that what America was supposed to be
That's
about?
what it is, Joe. That's exactly what it is. Bingo, bingo, bingo. And here's another thing. If you're not on board with that, you want to hurt people, you want to raise like all types of craziness, those people have to be banished. You're banished, dude, you're banished from the kingdom. Either you go to jail or you have to go live in the mountains. You cannot, dude, civilization. You can't have a civilization where people get to rob up to $800 in a store. That's not a civilization.
No, that's
Because
not a
I'll tell you
civilization.
what happens. Businesses leave. And what happens too, our poor people are stuck without stores because they don't have cars. So they suffer. The rich people are fine. They leave, they move, they have cars, they're mobile. It's the poor people. You're only hurting poor people. It's absurd. And we've tolerated nonsense. I said this when Trump was president the first time. When Minneapolis was burning, I'll be honest, it would have been one phone call. What are you going to do about it? Nothing. I would have sent the National Guard. And if anyone got in the way, they would be tied up like a pig and thrown in jail. No apology. You're not burning a police station down.
Right.
You're
right.
not burning a
Well,
neighborhood down.
Look at what happened in Newark. Look at what happened in Newark with the ICE detention center in Newark, and the congresswoman from Newark, which really just bothers me that she's from Newark. She got arrested by ICE because she tried to attack the ICE officers. That's right. It doesn't matter that you're a member of the House.
Doesn't matter.
You
Go to
attack the
jail.
ICE officer. You know what you are now? You're under arrest.
That's right. No apologies. And that's how it stops. You see, that's the type of, you talk about how to react to this. It's simple. You have free speech. You have a right to express your opinions. No problem. You hurt somebody. You overstep your rights. You get into someone's own personal like space, going to jail.
Right.
And I'm not apologizing. And that's how they tried to send a message. The message is this: Charlie Kirk is effective. We're going to scare people. And basically we're going to try to silence because we lost the argument. The message in return is no. We are still going to present the facts. We're still going to communicate the message. And if you do this, the consequences will be severe.
That's right.
They will be severe. We'll arrest you. You will be imprisoned and you will pay a fine. And there will be no apologies.
That's right.
Because you have no right to hurt people. Right. Sorry, the conversation is over. And that's the end of it. Get a lawyer. Is my response, because you're going to need one.
That's right.
And that's it. And ultimately, Joe, people will get the hint as they do. How do you think corporate America manages people? It's management through violence. It's economic violence. Why do you not say no to your boss? Because you get fired. You can't. And you can't get fired because you have to pay your bills. It's the same principle. You can protest. It's from 9 to 5. Get a permit. You could voice your opinion. Do whatever you want on your free time. You hurt somebody? You break things? You're going to jail. And I'm not apologizing, and I don't care what the media has to say.
Right.
That's the deal.
Well, one of the things that's got to happen is they can't, it's, I know it's kind of hard to police, like, because like I would call Joy Reid a racist, but I only do that more of an emotional argument. I can't really prove she's a racist. I think she is. She says a lot of hateful things about people who have white skin, but in that environment, Joe, I probably would watch how I say that, or I probably would more question her. Like if I had the opportunity to say, well, are you saying something about white people? Anyway, there's a different way of doing that. I would live by those rules that you just proposed, but let's see if this guy would. So let's play Van Jones.
Also, I mean, people like Charlie Kirk, Van, they've been looking for opportunities to make this some sort of like reciprocal George Floyd situation. And that's the part that I think he's almost giving away the game. And it's sad to see a lot of people going along with it.
Let me just say a couple of things. One is, what happened to that young woman was horrible. And it's everybody's nightmare. If you're in any public space, a subway, whatever, that something bad is going to happen to you or somebody you care about. So it does strike a chord. We don't know why that man did what he did. And for Charlie Kirk to say, we know he did it because she's white, when there's no evidence of that, it's just pure race mongering, hate mongering, it's wrong. Then he says that if something like that had happened the other way, there would be sweeping changes imposed on society. And then for someone like Charlie Kirk, he should be ashamed of himself. No one mentioned the word race, white, black, or anything except him. What people mention is the horror of what happened to this young woman.
Okay, so the reason why they didn't mention race, because guys like Van Jones and all the people at CNN and MSNBC, because it's clear, because we have eyes in the video, you don't want to mention race because it's a black guy in a hoodie that stabs a 21-year-old girl.
Oh, I can't even watch that. It's so sick. And
now here's the point. No, race should be mentioned. And you know who brought it out? And I don't care what anybody says about it. He's Catholic, and I will, when I want to, I'll quote him, Nick Fuentes. He says, you can't win. Now I'm paraphrasing Nick Fuentes. He says, basically, you can't win. If she doesn't sit there in front of that guy, okay, and it's, let's say, on video, and she sits somewhere else where he's not over her shoulder, she's a racist. And if she does sit there, guess what? She's dead. And his logic there is unassailable. He's absolutely right. It's because if you turn around, it's been the whole argument. We've heard this, Joe, going back when Al Sharpton was in New York, rabble-rousing in New York. You got them white guys, they walk on the other side of the street when they see the brothers coming down. Right, because when I see a kid walking me or a couple of kids in New York, and I worked in New York, you do walk in New York. When I see two kids coming at me, one's got his pants halfway down his ass, all right, and the other one's got the same thing, and they come in, and they're looking all thuggish. What am I supposed to do? I got to appease you and prove to you that I'm not a racist because I see the way the culture is, and I don't want to walk past these two kids. I did this in New York one night. When me and my wife were in New York before we moved to Arizona, where I caught two kids behind us, and we stopped real quick by the halal guy, okay, just to watch them pass. I know what they were trying to do. In Van Jones's mind, I'm a racist for doing that. In Al Sharpton's mind, I'm a racist for doing that. That young girl, and it's so horrible because that girl had to be so innocent. She's here from the Ukraine. She's looking for a better life. And she probably thought in her mind, oh, well, okay, it's a black guy sitting behind me. Or maybe she didn't even give it a thought. And she's dead. And Van Jones is going to point the finger at Charlie Kirk because Charlie Kirk pointed out absolutely correctly. If that was a white kid that stabbed a black girl, Van Jones and the rest of them would have made it all about race. It would have been all about.
I wish it's clearly a double standard. I mean, all the events. I mean, if you look, I listened to something from Matt Walsh. I think he said something. There were like 500,000 murders, or like he gave the number. Overwhelming. The black on white crime, it's overwhelming. It's overwhelming. Like pure numbers. It's never talked about. Now we'll flip the coin. The black on black crime in south side of Chicago, in Newark, in Camden. They don't care about that either. So ultimately, in these media outlets, it's a power game. It's using things to drive power, That's what this is. And Van Jones is, I wish you would give us that much a benefit of a doubt when something doesn't work in the direction of, say, of a George Floyd situation, let's just say. They don't at all.
Right.
There is no objective. There is no, let's look at it from every which side. Let's talk to different people. It's conclusion. This is what happened. And that's why it can't even be taken serious. I don't even
Well,
take
isn't
that
that what happened?
serious.
Isn't that what happened? I mean, you just made a very good point. Isn't that, you think that Joe, like when you're a little kid, you go to touch the stove, okay? And your mother slaps your hand and says, don't touch, or actually lets you touch the stove so that you burn your finger and you'll never do it again. Okay. I know you went through that and I went through it. I got the wooden spoon on the head when I did that. So I got burned by the stove and then got the wooden spoon. But what happens is you don't do it again. You would have thought these people would have learned from Nick Salmon, because in the Nick Salmon story, they did exactly what you just said. They played the clip and then came to their conclusion without knowing anything.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's a double standard, and that's why I don't take it serious. But here's the deal. It's that show is not about fairness, equity. They're feeding a demographic. That's why I don't watch any of that crap. I see it on clips, obviously, for this show, but I don't watch CNN or Fox or MSNBC because it's not about news. It's a propaganda machine to feed their people who want to hear that, who want to be affirmed in their chair, drinking Mountain Dew and eating chips. Being like, oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a show. It's like the WWF. It's nothing more than a show. Even the arguments are just to entertain people. So, I mean, it's not news. It's regurgitated talking points. Van Jones, if you ask me, that statement has no credibility whatsoever. It's so slanted and it's absurd. It's absurd. And ultimately, this is where people have to start like seeing through the fog. We don't see through the fog. There's a lot of regular people who are feeling the burn because of the divisiveness, because of how our government doesn't work anymore. There's a lot of common ground here, if you ask me, on basics. Shut these people off and let's start putting people to the fire. Let's start primarying people and get them the heck out. If enough people come together in mass, 70% of the population, 75% of the population, clean house, demand it. Demand it. There have been bloodless revolutions in the world. Poland comes to mind. Not a bullet was fired. Massive change. The government needs an overhaul. I voted for Donald Trump because I wanted that. Now, he has given me some things, but if you ask me, that bill said everything I need to say. He needed to say. The big, beautiful bill is nothing more than something George Bush would have put out, nothing more than Obama would have put out, nothing more than Joe. It's the same story. Why is the Epstein list not out? Because it's about donors. It has nothing to do with those girls. That's why Joe Biden didn't put that list out, and that's why Donald Trump didn't put that list out. Those are indicators. He's not willing to basically gut the system. The system needs to be gutted. It can't be fixed. It doesn't work.
You made a good point, in other words, and then we're going to sign off here at the front line with Joe and Joe. You made a good point, Joe. If we have a people that begins to fear God again, okay, that again, I say. Now, you mentioned there's a lot of people of goodwill in this country. There's a lot of people of goodwill, even people who we would disagree with on a number of things, okay? And we could work with people of goodwill, okay? And even people who are not insane, but we disagree with them. There's a lot of them. But I guess the thing is that if we begin to get our moral bearing back, okay, and put those boundaries in place, by not redefining marriage or attempting to, by protecting the unborn, by not allowing children to be mutilated. I mean, these are just a couple of things. There's so many other things that we need to address. Then what will happen is leaving aside the scorpion the left because they're scorpions. They sting. That's what they do. We're not trying to change the left. We know what they're all about. They're about the destruction of Western civilization. Okay, because Western civilization is Christian and, dare I say, also Catholic. Okay. We know what they're going to do. I'm talking about the Republicans and the so-called conservatives that we vote for, that know if you voted for in ways that we didn't want you to, and you went to the House and you weren't going to do what we said, or you said you were, but then you're going to do it. See, once we start to turn our ostensibly our own side back to our side, then I think we can make some progress. The problem
the system
is
doesn't allow it.
you have the evil. No, the system. I gotta push back a little, Joe. The system allows it because the Constitution allows it. The people that vote for these people need to be more enlightened as to who they're voting for.
The problem is the money, Joe. Like Thomas Massey is the unicorn because he has 70%. He doesn't need the money. He has 70%. He wins no matter what. So he's free. Like if you don't have any money, they cut you off. Basically, you're done. You can't win. You can't win. When you come up for election, you're done. Your opponent's going to have all the ads. You're going to lose. And they know that. The system is not, it's rigged against us because of that. That's why they cave. You have to fix the system, meaning you have to take the money out of it. No more money. No more. And the Republicans voted for that Citizen United bullcrap. That was a horrible, horrible, horrible ruling by the Supreme Court. It gutted the regular person. There should be no lobbying. We had an aristocratic like Senate. That's how it was supposed to be set up. These were the aristocrats. It's turned into an oligarchy. It doesn't work anymore. And it's not going to work until that changes. And Donald Trump proved he's not looking to do that. And that's the disappointment. That's what has to get done. And that's not going to get done.
Well,
and
ultimately,
if you ask me, Joe, I do think we're at the last stages of empire. That doesn't mean 10 years. It could be 80, but it's going to get progressively crazier until there is a decided winner. It will be right or left, and we will have a strong man who will control the population through punitive violence. And that is what happens in those type of countries. How do you think Saddam Hussein controlled Iraq? Violence. How do you think Putin controls Russia? Violence.
But then America's finished at that.
It's finished now.
Well,
the only thing that could save us is God. God could save this country. There is not a human being, a politician, God. It would take, if you ask me, a suffering. Something that made COVID look like a friggin' weekend.
Well,
like where, for instance, in Poland, 1 in 4 people died between the Germans and the Russians. That means 1 in 4, every house, someone you loved died. El Salvador, for decades, the most violent country in the whole world. Then they had 85% of the vote, and they voted for someone, and 70,000 people were arrested in 6 months. And now it's one of the safest places in the world. Right. It took decades of suffering. You see, it has to bring, it's like alcoholics or drug addicts. People have to be brought to their knees naturally, where they basically say, oh my gosh, when is this going to stop? I cannot deal with it anymore. Then there'll be change. Until then, there will be no change.
Well, let's.
If you ask me, it's just going to get worse.
You may look. You bring God into the equation. Obviously, all things happen and all things are possible. And we said this before on the show. Before we sign off, just keep in mind. I know you believe that Donald Trump was spared for a reason. I do believe that there is a divine reason. I don't know what it is because I'm not God and I don't have the mind of God. See, people want to focus on Trump and they're not focusing on what the possibilities are as to why God spared him or allowed him to be spared. And along those same lines, now we're going to find out. Now, God had it in his mind, okay, that he took Charlie Kirk when he did. He did not spare Charlie Kirk. Okay. And I do believe, I'm not saying it sentimentally. I believe all people have to pay a price in purgatory because that's what I believe. Okay. Charlie Kirk is somebody who I believe is going to see the face of God. Okay. He was a Christian. By all accounts, by the way, he was signaling. Now I'm not trying to piss anybody off. He was speaking to a priest. I think Father Dave Nix posted a letter on X, something about Charlie Kirk. He was going to mass here locally. His wife's Catholic. Okay, all his friends here, like the people Charlie Kirk, would go to daily mass in a Catholic church. So by all indications, he was moving to the Catholic Church. But even aside from that, I think in his heart, in his heart, there's no question in my mind that Charlie Kirk is saved. But God has his own reasons for allowing things to happen. There is a reason why Charlie Kirk died. I think we're going to find out why. I think we're going to find out what purpose God had for his life and what it's supposed to tell us, by the way. What it's supposed to, what is God trying to tell us, with this tragic act? Okay, because God will draw the greatest good out of this tragedy. We know that because he's done that for all of human history. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be interesting. We do need, regardless of the fact that the left hates when we say this, we do need to pray, particularly this, Joe Resinello, and I want a final word from you. I find it very difficult, okay? And I tell you this, I'm an open book. I tell the audience at the front line with Joe and Joe, I have a very difficult time praying for my enemies or the enemies of mankind or God's enemies. But I will say this, I've been trying. I really have. Because ultimately that's what Christ wants us to do. And I'm trying to do it. I'm trying to pray for them, pray for their conversion, pray for their reversion, pray for them to come to their senses, whatever it takes. Joe, final word from you.
The answers are simple. The family that prays together stays together. We need families. We need stable homes. Most of these people, to be honest with you, are wounded. I'm not making excuses for them. And many of them are mentally ill. I would bet most come from broken homes. We need men, to take care of their families, to be in the house, to be an example for their kids, to be good to their wives. If we just did that, we would see a tremendous improvement in this country. It begins with basics that we no longer believe in and no longer have, and we're seeing the downstream effects from those things. And America is deeply, deeply wounded. And I believe if we got back to first principles and basics, we would grow in a positive direction in leaps and bounds, but we're not willing to do it. And that's why I believe politics can't fix our population. It's a virus that's going to run its course. But remember the Old Testament. Exodus, return, Exodus, return, Exodus, return. God will fix it. And most probably it will be through hardship. I'll be dead. I'm 55 years old. But I believe it will be through hardship. And it will bring the country back. The people will return.
Well, let's keep praying that happens. I want to thank you all for joining us out there at the front line with Joe and Joe. I don't have to tell our audience, but I will anyway. Pray for Charlie Kirk's soul. Pray for his family, his wife, his kids. Pray for our country. We love our country. I mean, I hate what our country does, but we love our country. We're Americans. So let's keep praying. Keep asking God for his guidance, his blessings, his graces, his forgiveness, his mercy. Let's keep it moving. Let's keep going out into the breach. We want to thank you for joining us here at the front line with Joe and Joe. Please, wherever you're watching this video, like, subscribe, share. Help us to do our part and get out to a wider audience. If you like the conversations and you think we have something to say, then help us out. We'd really appreciate that. Remember, all of our Veritas Catholic Radio interviews are all across X and Facebook and YouTube. All of these, we go Thursday nights, 9:00 Eastern time, most of the time, generally speaking. So if you like what you hear, like, subscribe, and share, do all that fun stuff. And like I said, keep praying, and we'll see you next week. And remember till then that our conversation is your conversation, and that conversation is going on everywhere.